So hello, everyone.
I don't know if anybody joined yet.
Okay, I think we're live now.
So let's go ahead and see if we can send a request.
I see. Wait.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. I see familiar faces. We're now live from Lyme Academy and waiting for everyone to join in. Hello.
We should send that.
So we're gonna see if we can send the request. Arinze.
Hello, everybody.
Arinze.
Hello, Arinze. It's
Hi.
so nice to see you.
Hi. So nice to see you as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live session.
So Arinze right now is in Nigeria, so everyone knows. And what time it is right now, Arinze?
This is 10:14 over here.
Wow, thank you so much for staying up for us.
Yeah. So I'm pretty honored to be, to have this talk with such a prestigious academy. I truly appreciate the opportunity to allow me to speak to your audience. Thank you very much once more.
Thank you, Arinze. The pleasure is ours. We're such big fans of your work, and it's so nice to have the opportunity to talk to you about yourself and your process.
Yeah.
So, can we? I think we'd like to start just by asking, if you could tell us a bit about your background and growing up and how you got into art.
Okay. Uh, Basically, I am from a family of 4 kids. I'm the first child, and yeah, my family is, into paper business, and ever since I've been very familiar with paper, and so growing up, I had a lot of paper around me. So I would like to sketch and sketch, and even before I even had any foundations in, formal education, I would like to sketch and make a whole lot of drawings around the house, and it was more like a hobby as of then, and I grew up, very familiar with the medium charcoal and graphite. I mean, and paper. So I constantly made drawings up to the age of up till like 2012 when I decided to take it more seriously and take drawing as a you know take it to the next level. Um, I would say in 2012 as well. I had a couple of incidents that really, directed my artistic, exploration through my drawings. I had a couple of incidents that, like, for example, the first ever police brutality I ever witnessed was with the military. And, that kind of shaped my message in my drawings and, kind of gave me a purpose towards what I was drawing, because before then I used to just like drawing um, familiar faces or like popular faces. But then I began to use my work to, speak about issues that concerning me, concerning my friends, my family, my society. And basically, I find that I'm still doing that till today, and I'm having a lot of fun. So I'm a pretty simple guy, and that's pretty much it. Except you want to go in detail.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to see the emotional connection that you have with your work. And I remember when I saw your work for the first time, like surfing on Instagram, and then I saw the size of the work, which was like pretty amazing to see, like very kind of monumental work. But there was something very unusual to me. There was the way that you treated the surface of the subjects. There was something really raw and very observational. I felt like I could feel really the subjects. And so I was wondering, like, how do you do to kind of like, because when you see hyperrealism, you see very detailed work, but your work is beyond that. And I'm so curious about what it is that you do to really push that boundary and create that feeling, like that tactile feeling that you can like see that image, but you can feel that image.
Well, I would say I'm still learning, and every single drawing is I consider every single drawing as a new, you know, stepping stone to where I'm headed. Uh, I would say basically when I started drawing, I I I usually I usually tear my drawings like like my early stages of drawing was more like a competition with myself. I would always want to ensure that my next drawing was better than my previous drawing, and if it wasn't, I was going to tear it up. So I feel like over the years I was training myself to look and see better, observe, not just tonal values, but how light affects every single part of our, body, and going down to our skin pores, our hair, you know, and finding ways to manipulate this through simple mediums like charcoal, graphite. I find that, it's been all about exploring, and I believe that I still have a lot to learn. I, I basically, I still have a lot to learn, but I feel like, yeah, I always seek for not just the realistic, you outlook of my works, but how do I connect my works to my audience? And I believe, like every other person, I myself, I am also an audience. I'm also part of the audience. So when I create the piece, I am also speculating at the piece, and I'm also trying to feel what I'm trying to pass through the work. So I know that I sit down with my works, and I look at them thoroughly, and I put myself in my viewer's shoes, and I try to perceive that message that I'm trying to pass out there, and I hope, to pass the message across to my audience in a way that I will perceive it myself.
That's
And
amazing.
so that's just it. So it's more like a personal, you know.
And it's very unbelievable that you got all this talent with you. Like you didn't go to school to learn all of this, that you've been kind of correcting yourself and then
Self-taught.
self-taught, and then how somebody gets so much talent without education.
Well, I feel like there are no boundaries to the human mind, and that's what I've learned. Because if you go back to 2012, and if you go back to my version of 2012, and I was saying, yeah, what I was doing was some good stuff, but right now, if I look back at my old drawings, I'll be like, I could have done better. So I feel like I
Self-critical.
feel like every day is a new day to become, to push the boundaries, to become a better version of yourself. And that's just what I've seen and learned throughout my, artistic journey. I feel like every day I try to push beyond what I did previously, and that's it.
Hmm. And um, when you were going back to sort of your younger days, when you were just kind of sketching, when you were growing up, were there artists that you were looking to for inspiration?
Yeah, growing up, I wasn't very familiar with a lot of artists. I, Along the line, I think that was when social media became like a very big, thing. I was like 2012. I encountered a couple of artists online on Instagram. Like, for example, Kelvin Okafor. He was the first person that really inspired me to go back to drawing because as of 2012, I had left drawing for a long time. And after seeing his drawings, I was like, oh God, I know how to draw. So I just picked up my pencils and my paper and I started drawing, and I haven't stopped drawing till today. And then I also met a couple of other artists like Joel Rea, although he was a painter. He, on the other hand, taught me how to, conceptualize and put your idea into your canvas or your paper. It's like you have to push the limits of your mind, not just your skill. Yeah, you could be the best pencil artist. He told me this personally. You could be the best pencil artist in the world, but can you think? And ever since he told me that, you know, I it really changed my perception of being an artist. And whenever I try to create a piece, I try to think deeply and see how I can, you know, the best way I could pass that message. And yeah, a couple of other artists around that I personally am inspired by. A lot of my brothers here in Nigeria and abroad, for example, Oscar Okono, Ken Wadiobu, so many amazing artists doing crazy stuff out there. And when I look out there, I feel like I'm not alone. So, yeah, I have a couple of people that I personally look up to.
And so I'm curious, just kind of going back to what you were saying about your childhood, that there were a couple of incidents that happened. I'm curious if you would talk about, what some of those incidents were, or at least how they influenced what you're talking about in your work today, and if you can talk about how you would describe what your work is about.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say that like my work is about exploring all the topics. You could see me talking about issues concerning my society. You can see me talking about the oil pollution in my country. And tomorrow you can see me talking about the police brutality that is happening. You know, you can also find me exploring subjects like the beauty of my society, and telling people you know how I appreciate the tiny details in my society. Like, for example, I had a couple of drawings I just created recently, um, the Gile series, which has pretty much been a little bit popular for the recent months. Uh, I just want to show people the beautiful part of my society, you know, the beautiful part of my country, and use the opportunity in which I have introduced colors to show people the colorful side of Arinze Stanley, and not just the whole political and you know. So every day is a day to explore different topics. So Arinze Stanley is not just one, you know, it's not just one message. Arinze Stanley is a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of messages. I just want to explode with all the ideas I have in my mind, connect with as many people as possible through my art, because personally I feel like my work, my gifts were given to me for a reason, and that was to connect to people, which I have realized. And yeah, I try my best to connect with as many people in different fields as possible. And in 2000 same 2012, when I started drawing again, I had an altercation with the military men in my when I was back in school. Uh, I completely changed my mind about drawing. Like that completely changed my life. I started to realize that okay, I couldn't defend myself using words. You know, I couldn't. You can't possibly report the military men to anyone. It's almost like they have immunity, and but I could speak to people's minds through my drawings. So I started to explore different ways to pass that message through my art, and hopefully around you know 2020 during the NSAS protests. This was like 4 years later. This was like 8 years later. I I was now sure that yeah, this is what I needed to do as an artist, to speak the truth about what's happening in my society. And that was when we had the NSAS protests. It's one of the biggest protests in Nigeria that actually was influenced by the youths. Uh, I personally have been a victim of police brutality so many times in the past, but it was almost like everyone had it up to here. So, as of the time, I was creating some works talking about police brutality, and I was exhibiting my works in California as of the time, 2 days before the protest began. And when the protest began, it was almost like it was simultaneous. And I realized that this was divine, and this had to be purpose. So it's been that for me every day, learning, discovering new ways to pass my messages, and that's it.
That's that's pretty fascinating, and so there's a lot of our audience asking questions about how you channel all of these emotions through your work, and I'm wondering because I read that you use models, sometimes you use photographic references, and sometimes your imagination, and I wonder how all these moments that they inspire you, or the moments that trigger some kind of reaction, if you write down your thoughts, or you do any sketching, how do you plan your work? How do you like start putting all of this together?
Well, most of my works aren't like planned or anything. It's mostly what I feel. I try to get myself into that mood, where so basically I'm a photographer. Before I became an artist, I like to shoot. I like to take photos of people and landscapes. But channeling my emotion and connecting with my photography, I think is what gave birth to the way my works are today. Um, so yeah, I most times I have an idea in my head, and then I try to find the best way to materialize that idea. And most times I find that I'm more connected with people than I am with landscapes or inanimate objects, because I feel like people are vessels of energy and vessels of emotions and vessels of and that's what I want to have in my work. So I connect with people, sometimes random people, sometimes my friends. It's more like a spiritual connection. When I see you, I already imagine in my mind how that message is going to pass through your existence, through your personality, and how can I capture that. And then I go out with I go to my models, to my studio, and we spend a couple of hours shooting
Mhm.
and trying to find how I could capture that essence of that message. And then at the end of the day, sometimes I find out that I have like over like 1,000 pictures, or like
That'd
500
be
pictures.
difficult to choose.
And
Yeah.
yes, and then I have to now choose from a lot of pictures, but then I narrow them down to one photo.
Hmm.
Now, I just one secret I know that I have not shared with anyone before is I just don't shoot one single photo. Although I have a single idea, but instead of shooting just a photo from far, I know that my camera is limited to getting details and those tiny, minute details on my subject. So I shoot from afar, and then I come closer and I shoot closer to the skin. I shoot and I observe how the lights are affecting every single pore in your skin. So it's more like I shoot like the full picture,
Mhm.
and then I go closer and I shoot like very close shots of each part of my subject.
Yeah, so you bring the
And
experience of being around that person and close to that
yeah,
person, which probably
yeah,
that creates that. Well, in your talent with the
yes,
material, because I see that you work with pencil, charcoal, and also use some wet media like ink, and even
yes,
that is a way, is another element that translates some kind of concept, right? Like I
yeah,
see some of your subjects cover with ink, and I think you were mentioning before. An incident with pollution and how that kind
yeah.
of was affecting
Well,
the whole environment.
I very rarely use ink because of how it fails to combine with charcoal and graphite. But on an incidents where I barely need to go like to a level of depth, I might wanna experiment, maybe add some ink or add some acrylic, or even cheat and add a little bit of um, yeah, acrylic paint. So maybe if I want to get like the darkest darks, and I know that charcoal can give me this dark, so I kind of like experiment with some stuff, put it out there, and yeah, it's all about exploration. And I believe just like charcoal is a very is a very true form of who we are as people. Because if we were to, get born, if you were to born a living substance, you will form carbon. So it's almost like from dust we come, and
That's
from dust
beautiful.
we shall return. And then that same dust is what I'm using to create new life through my work. And so it's almost like it's completely different from a photograph. Is I'm creating something with something that was once life, you know.
Mm.
So it's like the recreation of life, and like energy sources. Energy can either be created nor destroyed, but can be transferred from one form to another. It's
Mm.
like the law of conservation of energy. uh, I might be converting that energy that is potential in charcoal, and converting it into a different life form through my works.
Mm.
So yeah, it's fun. It's
Yeah, that's great. Because I was, when you were talking earlier, I was thinking to myself, I wonder when you talk about pushing your work and experimenting and exploring, I was thinking, oh, I wonder when you're pushing your work, in what way you're pushing your work. What are you looking for that you feel like in a way that you're not getting enough of, that is inspiring you to go further and further. And I feel like you're answering that now. You're trying to give it more life, breathe more
mm,
life into it,
yes.
put more emotion. It's not just about more detail, but
Mm.
more life, more energy.
Yeah, you know you can get all the details you want in a drawing, but then if you if if you have a very good message, you can just make a drawing this small,
Mm.
and
And
it will go way farther than you think. I feel like the journey of exploration never ends. So even when I think that I might have found what I'm looking for, I will end up realizing that, oh, there's more.
Yeah.
There's more to explore. The world is too big.
Mm-hmm.
I might, and that's why most times you see me starting up new series of works, you know, while still continuing my other series of works, because it's just what it is. I don't know what I'm going to become next year, but I do know that I am still going to be the same person exploring and looking out for new ways to connect to my audience.
For sure.
Yeah, and I see that you spent almost like 4 months in the work, and that's also pretty incredible. We do also spend so much time in the work. I think for us is like an obsession to get like just what we need to get in order to translate exactly what you're saying. And I'm curious again, knowing like when do you feel like something is completed after all that time? How do you feel like the work has what it needs to have?
Well, basically, my works usually take a long time to create, but I will be honest. Along the journey, I found easier ways to save myself the stress and to create something, that would take me a month, to create it in days. But then now I want to explore and get bigger in size. I want to make something very huge, something I've never done before. And like, for example, last year I made a 7 feet drawing, which I had never done before. I saw a drawing that took me a year and 6 months to create. And, that was me pushing myself to the limits.
Mm-hmm.
it's, it's more like, it's not about knowing where to stop it. It's more like knowing when to, you know, it's more like knowing where and when you want to stop, because my messages doesn't just end up in a piece of paper. It ends up in the mind of people. So I'm when I'm drawing, I make sure that, yeah, my details are right. I do everything, but the message, I could have I could have a piece on my canvas for a month, and what am I doing throughout the month? I'm thinking, what do I add here? What do I add? How do I make this make sense? Sometimes my work is on the canvas and I'm here like doing the mathematics, and if I should add this to this, if I should subtract this. Like, for example, my piece Communion, you can see all the elements and the work. At the beginning stage of the piece, most of those elements weren't there. Along the line, I was like, hey, I could put this here. What if I have this? What if I have a whole crowd of people at the back? And these things just keep coming to me. And the more it comes to me, I have this conversation with myself. And I have like who I want to listen to, who I want to view my work. I have a message that I want to transfer to their mind. So it's not just about producing a drawing for me. For me, it also involves the end point of my messages, and I sit down in my studio, and even if it takes me a year and 6 months to conceptualize an idea and put it together, I'll do it no matter what it takes. So time is just a construct for me. And
I always felt that the thing that I found genius about certain artists is particularly for artists that do spend a long time to produce their work. The genius is the ability to keep that initial inspiration that made you want to do that work in the beginning and maintain that inspiration throughout the entire process of the piece.
Keep your muse.
Yeah, keep your muse, but it takes a lot of also discipline, I think, mental discipline, to really stay connected with that feeling, that energy, that idea. And,
which reminds me of, can you tell the audience about your 3 Ps? Because that was really great that I read that.
Yes, I feel like, just like what Jordan was saying, the 3 Ps pretty much are very important, not just in drawing, but I feel like they are very important in any other aspect of life. The first one is patience, the second one is practice, and the third one is persistence. Now, these three P's are not independent from each other. They work simultaneously. You know, if you want to achieve something, you have to be patient enough to get it, and you just can't just rely on being patient. You have to practice to get it, right? And now you can't just you know yeah, you're gonna be patient, you're gonna practice, but you're gonna fail a lot of times. So how do you get through that failure? You persevere, and just that just completes the whole message. And you can't take any of them out of the equation. If you practice and persevere, but you're not patient enough, you're not going to get it. So just try to remove one thing from the three P's, and you end up finding out that you're not going to achieve this thing. So the three P's kind of work together, and
That's
yeah,
fantastic.
that that has been guiding me throughout my decision making in life. Sometimes I like some people won't believe this, but I too get through to some stages that I feel like I'm stuck. But then what do? I apply the three P's. I just, like, for example, I have a couple of easels in my studio where I'm working on different works. And I know that I might be having some technical challenges figuring out the best way I could, to make this happen. And when I get stuck there, instead of me to sit down and, not do anything, I found a way to hack it. I split my different works among different canvases, different easels. So when I'm stuck here and I'm having a problem here, I move over to another easel and I continue. And then if I get stuck there, I move over to another canvas and I continue. So the practice
Yeah, that helps.
and the fact that I'm still gonna come back to that easel and continue working on it, that's where the perseverance is. And this takes a long time, and that's pretty much where the patience come in. So yeah, it's just everything you want to do in life: practice, patience, and persevere.
That's an amazing message. And the other day when we were talking to you, because you're not in your studio right now, because we were going to show some of the audience images of your studio, but it was very wonderful to see that you have a community of artists coming in and drawing with you. And is that a kind of apprenticeship or?
Yeah,
Um,
I have a couple of amazing talents that work here in my studio. From Daniel Shuemimo, a young painter, to Moses Olawale, to Ibuka Anyam, to Emmanuel uh, Chidubem, and amazing talents. There used to be more. There used to be Katie Otaro. There used to be Oni Balogun, but now they moved to their own apartment, studio apartments, and I feel like being around these people also motivates me to always be on my feet to draw because they are very good talents. And I'm currently in the studio, by the way, because
ah,
I'm
you
most
went back there. Nice.
Ah, could you show?
so
Could you
Yeah.
spin around a little bit and show
I'd love
us
to
your
take
studio?
you on a tour.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, that would be amazing. I'm so glad.
Yeah, so okay, let's go. So right now I'm at a podcast table where we host the Pond Collective's Atmosphere podcast. Taking a little bit here. So it's just a simple setup where we interview some of the most amazing Nigerian talents. And over here I have my um, almost like 10-foot easel, handmade easel, and some incomplete drawing over here.
Oh,
So
wow.
still in sketch.
I didn't.
So let me start from here. I have
Oh,
Ebuka Anyam.
Gorgeous.
Yes, amazing. This is charcoal and graphite on paper,
wow.
and coffee stains on the paper as well.
Wow.
So it has this
Beautiful
amazing,
texture.
yes,
Yeah.
beautiful texture. And then over here I have you,
Wow.
Moses Alawale.
Oh, wow.
Yes, some incredible stuff, you know.
What a beautiful like sense of skin and texture of the hair.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Mm,
Yeah. It's
incredible
amazing that
stuff.
we're so far, but I feel so close by the way that you
Wow.
you work the
And
perfect.
then, it's been on this drawing for about, say, let's say 3 to 4 months
Oh, wow.
Wow.
or more. I'm not quite sure. If you look at the back, look at the detail.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Moses is amazing. You should check him out, Moses Lawale. And yeah, I have a drawing I haven't unveiled before. It's a color drawing, still in the process. Yeah,
Wow.
Wow.
yes.
Gorgeous.
So
Wow.
I've been working on this for a while.
Intensity of the values and the intensity of the color and all of that working together. That's
Yeah, so
beautiful.
you can see the building up of the skin
Yeah.
detail of the skin tones. So that's
And
how I
color,
build it up.
the color is that crayons or
So
The color pencil.
this is Rembrandt and Caranda Ash,
oh
a
yeah,
combination of Rembrandt
yeah,
pastel
really
and
great.
Caranda Ash. Yes, it's so this is like basically still in the process. Well, this part is a little bit further, you know. So yeah, you can see work in progress and a little, and then this is
Mm.
a new work in process. This is the early stages of my work,
Mhm.
where I divide my my values. I
So beautiful.
I work by dividing my values into shadows. So I use my shadows to build up my tonal values. So um, here's a new piece.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of the Gele series, and over
And
here,
what kind of paper are you using? Wow.
Oh, man. Arinze. Wow.
Oh my God.
yeah,
That
this is
red.
a new this is a new drawing I have been working on for the past few months. For something special, I'll be making the announcement really soon. So yeah, this is how my setup looks like for people who don't know. And right
And
now,
what was the paper that you use, Arinze?
okay, this paper is a Fabriano Artistico,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
six,
We use that
600 GSM. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my big easel where I make my biggest drawings. It's a 12 feet easel.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so welcome to my studio.
That's amazing.
So this is my rack for my colors. I have a different rack for my pencils. Yeah, this is Karen Ash. Wow, this is Rembrandt. And yes, this is a sketch of me drawing by Ima
Huh.
Chidibem.
Oh,
Oh, that's so nice to have such a great community around you.
Yes, and over here you see Daniel Shoemimo making
Mm.
this amazing
Wow,
wow.
little.
the colors. Is that oil?
Yeah, this is oil.
Mm-hmm.
You can see his
Oh, wow.
Wow.
palette.
The palette.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And over here you can see one of his complete drawings hanging in my
Oh,
studio.
wow.
Complete paintings.
That's really
Yeah. So,
beautiful.
yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So it's almost like I'm surrounded by creativity, and that's what really motivates me. You
Yeah.
know.
That's so important, yes.
It's, um, I think that it's a good lead into. I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about just the realist and hyperrealist movement that we're seeing in not just in Nigeria but also in other parts of Africa as well.
Yeah. Well, basically, first and foremost, I would like to say that hyperrealism is relatively a contemporary movement here in Nigeria, a contemporary movement of art. Because if you go back in time, you realize that we didn't have cameras here. We didn't have people making realistic drawings. And now we live in the age where we have cameras facing we look at cameras every day. Like we right in your phone, you have a camera, right in your face every time you press your phone, you know. And you realize that we take pictures now. We take pictures in high detail now, and that wasn't a thing before in the past. So now we're more familiar with photos. We're more familiar with pictures, and this is a way that we connect to ourselves on a day-to-day activity. So hyperrealism, in a way, to me, it's more like moving really fast these days because people can connect directly to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can connect to a message when you see someone expressing himself in a way that you can connect to through an artwork. Uh, in in the sense of charcoal and graphite, I feel like the movement has been really it's been huge. I can't say why, but I feel like a lot of people are beginning to not just use charcoal and graphite in the the popular way, but many people are beginning to explore different ways apart from just hyperrealism. Infuse different mediums, different styles with hyperrealism. So I would say hyperrealism is it's just a starting point for what would become a huge movement of several diverse forms of art in the future. So and let's just be honest, it's pretty interesting.
Yes, it's very interesting.
So, yeah, we only have 5 minutes, but I just thought about a question. If you are a photographer and you love that medium too, and you love your medium that you're working on, pencil, charcoal, what differs one to the other, and why would you just decide to spend so much time in drawing versus taking more photos?
Right.
Yeah.
What does the drawing give that a photograph won't give?
Okay, I am going to first off start. But I've always wanted to answer this question, and I think the first way that I'm going to answer it is because I can.
Mm.
And secondly, let me take you somewhere. So I have this drawing I made in 2018 called The Negro Mona Lisa. Right here, the print is hanging in my studio. Yeah. So I pretty much haven't talked about this piece in a long time. So here you see a lady dressed, looking, smiling and all that, you know. But you conclude that this lady is, just staring and looking, and you don't get to see what's really inside the picture. And then you look in her eyes and you see that she's pretty much okay with where she is. And she got that African scarf on her head, shows her, her ties with her culture, her tradition, but then if you look closely, you see that she has long straight hair, which, basically isn't an African type of hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a bold culture of, bold style. But what you don't know is when you look down, you see that the drawing is incomplete.
Mm.
Yeah, and when you look closer, you see that there are handcuffs. in her hands.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so basically
Wow.
this is my way
That's
of
powerful.
this is my way of bending
Mm.
the reality of a photograph,
That's the answer. Yes.
because I can.
Thank you
I
so
mean,
much for sharing that. That's like, wow. Oof, so
so,
moving.
as an artist, I feel like if yeah, if you want to talk about something through your art, feel free to say whatever you want to say, express yourself. If you want to make realistic drawings, please make realistic drawings. If you want to make abstract drawings, please make abstract drawings. What I do encourage people is try to put your soul into your drawings or your paintings. That way you can connect with your audience in ways that a photograph can't.
Mm.
Because you have the touch of intentionality
Mm.
in your
That's
drawing. I can decide to shape my drawings in any way I want, and that is intentional. Every stroke is intentional, you know.
Mm.
So that's um, particular points where you just decide to, you know, be intentional about your creation.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
where you're making it different from a photograph.
Yeah. I think
what a beautiful message.
yeah, yes. I feel that even the act of, the time that it takes to produce the work,
Yeah.
it demonstrates a level of devotion
Yeah.
that in itself is powerful, and as human beings, we connect with that, that somebody took the time and devoted themselves to, to, to create that, and take the time that it takes to create that is powerful in itself.
I mean, if you think about it, imagine if giving birth was like in 2 days
Yeah.
versus
No, I don't even. Well, I
versus
think
9 months. You know, let's be very honest. We're all humans. Human nature hasn't always been the most peaceful or the most great. But being human is about discovering yourself,
Mm.
and imagine if giving birth was just 2 days. So many women are going to abandon their children because probably they don't want. But it was 9 months. A lot of people have to think about the pain that it took to give birth, to carry a baby for 9 months. So I feel like that part where you are connected to your artwork to, through the creation process, to the time frame where you created the process. It's like you're carrying a baby for 9 months, and it gives when you give birth, when it's done, it's just precious. It's
yeah, it is.
you know it's just precious. That's just it. That's how I view art.
It
That's how
changes you also.
Yeah.
yes.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks, Arinze.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate that we're in a time now with where social media can expose us to your work and the work of all the people that you share your studio with,
Yes.
and people who are doing incredible work. And we thank you so much for taking your time to talk to us, to show us your studio. Your work is truly inspirational. And
Thank you very
I
much.
hope one day that we'll be able to meet you in person at
Yeah,
some point.
absolutely.
Sure,
You're
sure.
doing.
I would love to come to your academy
Oh,
and
yes.
learn
That
because
okay.
because
We all heard
basically
that.
because basically I don't know how other people draw. That's one
Huh.
thing I know people don't know. I don't know how I would tell you that confidently that I don't know how the academic style of drawing is. I every single mistake led me here. So I want to see how it's being done, in
We'd love to
the
give you a tour.
academic style, and I would love to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you keep doing exactly what you're doing, though,
Yeah,
because
you're
you're
doing
doing it right.
amazing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I
Thank
didn't
you.
say.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very much
Arinze.
for this
Yeah.
opportunity.
Thank you.
I
It's
truly appreciate it.
such a
Have
pleasure.
a great night.
You
And
too.
thank you, everybody, for joining in.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, Arinze. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.